Greetings. It's another College Hockey News Insiders off-season special with our coach series. We start out with Brett Larson of Minnesota, and now the guy who replaced him, Nick Oliver, St. Cloud State alum, who was previously an assistant coach at Wisconsin. Check it out. Let's welcome new St. Cloud State head coach Nick Oliver. And Coach, welcome to the head coaching fraternity in college hockey. There's only 63 of you, so it's a small group. And how are things so far?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on, Adam, and it's been great so far. I think I'm just about 2 months into the new role, into the new position. At times, I felt like I've been drinking through a fire hose, but it's been great. I've had unbelievable support on the St. Cloud side in terms of helping me get up and running, staff that stayed on and is in place, as well as our returning players. So the transition has been about as smooth as it can go from jumping from one season finishing and jumping into a new position.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty quick. You guys, you're for those who don't know, assistant coach at Wisconsin this past season. You guys are obviously in the national championship game. So take me through that whole week or two where, I actually meant to say hello to you at the Frozen Fort because I knew everyone knew this was all coming down the pike, but I didn't want to bother you while you were trying to focus on, the game itself. So how are you managing all of that, focusing on trying to win a national championship while knowing all this other stuff was going on?
Yeah, it was new and unique, new for me definitely, but I think across college hockey, college athletics, I think you see different coaches have to go through some sort of an interview process while they're still in season. But the run that we went on with our group there was something I'll take with me forever. It was a special group of players, unbelievable staff that I got to work with the last 3 years, and culminating in the run that we went on this year. But I can tell you the process on the St. Cloud side of things, and our athletic director, Holly Schreiner, was great. I went through first initial parts of that process, and then out of respect to our team at Wisconsin, our program at Wisconsin, things were kind of put on the back burner until our season was concluded. And I'm grateful for that because I wouldn't have wanted to go through that any other way than to give my best and my full attention to the run that we were trying to make and the players that I was currently coaching.
Yeah, so St. Cloud was good with all that. They understood everything because it is weird these days because it probably matters more now than it used to because the transfer portal and all that. It used to be like, okay, let's, we can wait a few weeks, not a big deal. But now it's like there's such a sense of urgency that's needed to get going.
Yeah, and I think the timing of when we finish, we play in the national championship game on a Saturday. We fly home on Sunday, and then I'm up being announced on Monday in St. Cloud, which is also the day the transfer portal opened. But I can tell you, I wouldn't have wanted that process to go any other way. I wasn't going to make any decisions. I wasn't going to start in a new position until our season was finished. And I truly think that the players that decided to stay at St. Cloud were going to stay. The ones that decided to go, they were going to go. I don't think I was going to be the difference maker necessarily. I think players now have the option and the right to choose what they do at the end of each season. And the ones that decided to go, obviously we wish them all the best where they're going. And my focus quickly turned to the 9 returning players that we have, and obviously the ones that were going to be coming in as well.
Obviously, Mike Hastings, great guy, great coach. I mean, was he any advice for you during that whole period?
He was great, and I think I've been fortunate through my career to work with and learn from some of the best that have been in college hockey, whether it's playing for Bob Motzko, working for Brett Larson, working for Mike Hastings, working for Scott Owens in Sioux Falls in the USHL. So I've been really fortunate that way, but Coach Hastings was unbelievably supportive for me throughout the process. No different than he is with his players. He's there to help. He's there to assist and give guidance where needed. But he was great and someone for 3 years that I leaned on a lot for a lot of different things. And this was definitely one of them.
And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, did you guys have a baby too while this was going on?
Easter Sunday, so that was another
Wrinkle.
wrinkle that was thrown into the whole story. But obviously, he was a blessing, and he's our third. So we got 3 kids, 4 and under. But yeah, he was born on April 5th, and then I think mom and baby we got them home from the hospital on Monday, and then we left Tuesday for Vegas. So it was a little bit of a whirlwind, but for all the best reasons.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys have all the confidence in the world, but I think to the outsider it was like, okay, well, you're the underdog in every game here in the in the whole NCAA tournament. So, they'll be done soon, and then you can take care of this whole St. Cloud thing, and then you guys just kept winning. So, I guess it's a happy thing to have happen for you to get in the way, so to speak. But it was quite a run. Um, can you just and I don't want to dwell on Wisconsin because I want to focus more on St. Cloud, but just quickly summarize that whole run. And it was such an up and down season. You had streaks. January was bad, and started off good, and then all of a sudden you guys make a great push in the NCAA. So what was that? Can you explain those big swings?
Yeah, it was an awesome group to be a part of and a great learning year for I think us as coaches, the players, because the first half of the year there weren't that many bumps in the road for us, and a lot of things seemed to go our way, which we earned. And then obviously the second half there was a 3 week stretch here where things were going the other way.
Right.
Which we also were in those results too.
Yeah.
But I think any season where you are able to play late into April and be one of the last teams standing, I have a hard time seeing many teams that don't go through some adversity at some point. And I think it's what you learn from those moments, what you take out of it. And I think some of the bumps in the road that we did hit as a group, I think our players were able to learn from them. I thought they were able to use that to get better. And it really ended up bringing our group together. And by the most important time of the year, national tournament. We were playing a good brand of hockey, and we had a good feel and a good look to us, with how we went into that tournament.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the championship game. It was a great game. I mean, only one team can win. You're talking about, two really good teams right there. So we all know Denver's thing. So you guys fall a little bit short, but coming on to St. Cloud now, like you said, you had to deal with the transfer portal right away. I mean, I think a couple of guys followed Brett to Minnesota. But generally speaking, I mean, were you able to pull it together quickly, or is it still kind of a work in progress?
We're still working at it. We have a few roster spots to fill. Last year's St. Cloud team, I don't know the exact number, but it had double-digit seniors, I believe. So whether that's 10 or 12 seniors, I don't remember the exact number. So you already had a pretty big group of an outgoing senior class combined with obviously some of the movement in the transfer portal. So we'll have 17 new players this year, and we're excited about it. Like, it's given us an opportunity to add ourselves from the transfer portal. Ability to go out and recruit some freshmen that we think will step in from day one and have an impact on our program. And we're still looking to add the final couple more pieces as we go. But so that's an ongoing thing. And I'd say that's probably been 95% of the job so far for me has been inside, which is product of the situation that, myself and our staff is coming into, but also it's great because it gives us an opportunity to set the course for what this next season and obviously the future of this program can look like.
Yeah, it's crazy times because I guess it's different. And I mean, look, I'm 20 years older than you, but none of us are used to this. It's only been the last couple of years where you have all these options. It would have been where you lose some players and you're kind of stuck. But now, you can, like you said, you can keep adding. You got guys you can bring on. It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, that's how it is these days. But it's good to have those options.
Yeah, our player pool is bigger than it's ever been with the increased number of players you see in the transfer portal every year, which I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing, but that's the reality of our world. And obviously with the CHL opening up to play college hockey. So for the situation that, we've been in this spring and summer in terms of continuing to add and continuing to build our roster, that's been a positive for us. There's more play we can go. There's more avenues we can turn to in terms of finding good fits for us in our program.
Are there a couple names you can share, guys, to be on the lookout for incoming freshmen, I guess? Because I've been hearing about some good pickups you've had, but I don't really know anything about them. So fill me.
Well, and I need to give obviously credit to Brett and staff that was here previous to, because a few of the freshmen that are coming in were players that staff had originally recruited. Guys like Brock Such, Nolan Stevenson, Zach Shantz out of the Western Hockey League. I know since then we've added a few others. Carson Pilgrim from Tri-City in the USHL, Hayden Papanicus from Kelowna, and a few others as well. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah.
But we're going to end up having, a group of probably close to anywhere between 8 and 10 freshmen when we get this thing rolling. So that part's been fun, but the staff previous had put a couple good players in place, and then we just kind of had to pick the ball up where that got left off and continuing to add. So we like our group. It's a good mix. Like we added some transfers that are going to give us a little bit of experience. Some guys that I think are really going to benefit from being in our program. And we've also been able to add and retain some of the freshmen that should come in and, continue to elevate where we're at.
It's amazed me how fast, for someone, like I said, has been around a long time, the CHL opens up, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's just like another league now. Like you got the USHL, you got the 3 CHL leagues, and it's kind of you just recruit from wherever. There's no difference really.
Yeah, and that's been fun. I think what I hope serves me good in this new role is the fact that I've been an assistant the last 3 years. So I've been able to live in the recruiting world in terms of being physically out in some leagues and recruiting, whether it's Western Canada, whether it's Ontario, and developing relationships. And I think that's, as you know, a big part of recruiting is your connections on that side of it. So not only being able to watch the players that we'll be recruiting over the next couple of years, but also understanding better how the landscape works and some of the changes to how you recruit in college hockey, how you build rosters, different nuances that go into that. So I do think having been, more of an assistant recruiting side the last 3 years will help my transition into my new position.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyway, I want to get back to St. Cloud a little bit later, but I do want, like I said, this is kind of get to know you kind of thing. So I want to go backwards a little bit. Your dad was a high school coach, am I right? With Rousseau, East Grand Forks, and you played for him right before going to St. Cloud.
Yeah, so I grew up originally in Crookston, Minnesota, which is also the hometown of Mike Hastings.
Right.
It's about 20 miles from Grand Forks, North Dakota. And so I grew up, my dad was a long time either head football coach or head hockey coach at the University of Minnesota Crookston. So I grew up after school, I'd ride the bus and he would drop me off out on campus, and I'd hop off and run around the football field and watch practice. And then I'd have to wait until my dad was done with his staff meetings for the night, and we'd drive home. And so I just grew up around athletics and around the college environment, and I got to watch my dad be a coach. And I wouldn't say I always knew that's what I wanted to do, but I definitely shaped probably what my future career path would entail. But yeah, grew up, ended up moving up to Roseau. My dad was our head high school coach up there. Played for him in high school. Was a part of a state championship team in 2007 with Roseau, and then went on to play a couple of years in Fargo in the USHL before I ended up playing 4 here at St. Cloud State. Right. And then for me, I knew I probably wasn't going to make a long career out of playing professional hockey if I decided to try it. Right. So, after my senior year, I ended up making a decision that I think really has benefited and got right into coaching and went down to Sioux Falls in the USHL to work for Scott Owens, who I mentioned previously, and
Right.
was able to get my start on this side of the game.
Right. But who was there when you were playing in the USA? Who was your coach then?
So I had three different coaches in 3 years.
Wow.
Started with Dean Blaze.
Okay. Well, that's a good one.
And then it turned over to Steve Johnson, who
Okay.
was a heck of a player in his day in North Dakota.
Yep.
And then I actually ended up playing for him for 1 year at St. Cloud. He was an assistant my freshman year. And then my last year was Jason Herder, who's now at Western Michigan. So
Right.
my
Wow.
experiences, not only I mentioned the coaches that I've been able to work for.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the ones that I played for, I've been pretty darn good.
Yeah, those are three names right there. I mean, that's Dean Blaze coming back, right? And then of course Jason. I mean, national championship with Western Michigan, whole 9 yards, and with Duluth. So you go to St. Cloud and you played for Bob Motzko. Was it your sophomore year? You guys made the Frozen Four, and that was a first for St. Cloud at that time. So I mean, that was obviously a big deal. Just what's your favorite memory of that whole run up?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the fun part for me as a player here at St. Cloud. I was never one of our leading scorers. I was never on the front page of the paper. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is St. Cloud at the time when I got here as a freshman. It was really a program that was just starting to be on the cusp of, it had just started making, national tournaments, and she was really knocking on the door of being, one of the top programs and competing for Frozen Fours and national championships. And I think so for me, being at St. Cloud as a player, being able to see and be a part of, the first Frozen Four team here was really special. I got to watch Stuart LeBlanc win our school's first Hobie Baker Award that same year.
Right.
And I just thought it was an important year because it elevated our program. It took our program another couple notches up from where it had been. And so to kind of see the transition from, as a recruit, a team that was knocking on the door, to as a player, a team that had finally gotten over that hump and made a Frozen Four. And then to be able to come back and do it as an assistant coach and make another Frozen Four in 2021. So for me, it gives me good perspective because I've been able to watch the trajectory of our program. I've seen where we've been. I've seen what we've done well. I've seen what we need to do better. And I think it helps give me a really good understanding now with the opportunity to be the next head coach here.
Yeah, I mean, these are great runs. You just mentioned 13 and 21, and like I said before, only one team can win. So, I mean, you've been there three different times, and it is what it is. I mean, I think the loss was to Quinnipiac in the semis in 13, and then obviously the national championship game in 21. That had to be. I was there, as a matter of fact, because they only allowed 20 media people in the building that year. It was very obviously weird, and both were in Pittsburgh, right? So.
Yeah,
13 and 21. So I don't. Yeah. So, but that was definitely a weird year. I mean, it was a great game against UMass. But just remember that whole all that weirdness. Did it feel any different for you guys when you're going through it?
It's funny you bring up that year because it's probably for all of us seems like such a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, right.
But you mentioned craziness of that year. So that season when Josh Fenton was the commissioner of the NCHC, he put together the bubble or the pod in Alma. So that's where our season started. We're living in a hotel, quarantined for 3 weeks, and getting to play hockey again. And our players are just so excited to play. And then you get the regular portion of the season, and you play for a few weeks, and then you have to go on a pause. Play for another week, and then you're on a pause. So it was so touch and go. But I just remember seeing our players, their appreciation for when they were able to be in a rink. And I think sometimes you can take that for granted until it gets taken away from you. So that perspective was really good to see. And then no different than our Wisconsin team this past season. Like I remember we made a trip up to Duluth late in that year, and we got absolutely ran out of the building. It wasn't even close. I don't even remember the score, but it couldn't have been less than a 5-goal loss that we took right on the chin. And it just going back to sometimes you have to go through really hard things until you can learn and it gets better. And I remember that was a little bit of a turning point for us late in the season where you realize we weren't maybe as good as we thought we were. And it allowed us an opportunity as coaches to really dial in some of the things that we needed to do to have success. And then we went out to Albany and beat a really good BU team and a really good Boston College team with
Right.
Spencer Knight and Matt Boldy. And I just, that run was special in a lot of ways in that season we had. And part of it was due to the circumstances of the season. But again, another group that really came together at the right time and played our best hockey when it mattered.
Yeah, I was in Albany too, as a matter of fact. Was it you or BC who didn't have to play the first game? Oh, you did. You played BU. Didn't they get a bye because someone bailed out of that?
Notre Dame, yeah, they
Right,
had
right.
played for Notre Dame in that first game, and
So you guys could have been at a
uh,
disadvantage having to play the night before, right? But then you come back and win anyway. So
I remember we were that first period. I bet there was a 10-minute stretch where there wasn't a whistle. And I remember looking down the bench and guys were beat red in the face and huffing and puffing. And they had a really good push early in that game. And for us, we were able to just kind of weather that early storm and then kind of found it as it went.
well, we all got through that year somehow. I don't know, but it was crazy. So even from my perspective, so you said like your dad. I mean, you never really thought about coaching at that point. So at what point did it kick in? I know you said that you weren't really thinking you're gonna have a long pro career. So you went to coaching kind of right away after school. But was there somewhere between there where you thought, this is what was there a turning point moment?
You know what? Probably one or two for me. So I didn't think about it at all during my senior year, even prior to that. I always thought, like everyone else, you're going to have an opportunity to go play in the NHL and go play pro after. Um, and a couple of things. It was the end of my senior year. We played a game. It was a regional final in Fargo. We played North Dakota. We ended up getting beat. First season was done. And I just remember thinking, my experience at St. Cloud was so special for me. And if this is my last game, I'm okay with it
Right.
because I'm doing it with my best friends and at a place that has meant so much to me. So that was one. And then I remember probably a week after the season, I went and had my exit meeting with Coach Macho. And he asked me what I was thinking about doing. And I said, well, I might want to go play, but I've also thought about getting into coaching.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, are you sure? And I said, well, it's something that interests me. And so I can tell you whether it was Bob Boxco, Mike Gibbons, who was an assistant here at the time, Gary Raboin. I played for him here for 3 years. And those three were very helpful and gave me a lot of information and guidance in terms of when I decided to get into coaching. So I would say it wasn't really until after my senior year had wrapped up that I kind of decided that this is probably the path that makes the most sense for me.
I mean, you're throwing out tons of names that are all coaches that are all still around and doing well. Garrett is another one, and Jason Herder you mentioned, and Dean Blaze. I mean, these are all Bob, Brett Larson. You can mention a zillion names. Is there someone in particular that you've leaned on the most in the last couple months?
Oh gosh, that's a good question because it's probably been all of them in some capacity. But I can tell you, Brett has been really helpful to me through my transition. And I just think that's the kind of person he is. You didn't just walk out the door and ever put into this program again. I think he's been helpful in me in answering questions that I've had in terms of, being in this role. But I'll go back to it. And I know you mentioned I've known a lot of names, and that's not at all the Trinity a name dropper. That's just I'm always very appreciative of people that have come before me that have done things for me in my career, and I always feel like I need to at least reference them or mention them because they've all played a big part for me, and I wouldn't be in the position I am if it wasn't for opportunities that I've gotten or things that I've learned from them.
Oh, absolutely. No worries there. You mentioned, Bob Motzko saying, you really sure about this? Because that's kind of what I ask everybody these days. Because like with all the craziness that the NCAA now presents, especially just what we went through with the possibility of having 18-year-old freshmen being a thing again and whatnot, that and mandating that. Who wants to put themselves through all this stuff these days? So the transfer portal. I mean, it's so hard to keep a team together. You mentioned 17 new players. It's almost not even unusual anymore. I mean, even for teams that don't have a coaching change, it's kind of crazy. So, are you sure you want to do this going forward?
Well, I'm in it now, so I don't
Yeah.
know if I can turn back. But no, and that'll be the fun part, I think, for our continued build at St. Cloud is um, you hope like heck this is the last year you ever go through that much turnover. But it's about recruiting the right type of kids and the right people that understand what St. Cloud is, understand how it can benefit them, how it can benefit them with their development academically. And those are the kids that we're going to build this. And noticing them that I'm at state, they stayed for the right reasons. It wasn't because I talked them into staying. It wasn't because I convinced them of something. It was because they truly love this place. And I do think if we continue to recruit the right way, we can have success on the ice. We're going to continue to build here with our next few freshman classes and get the right type of people in here that fit our program. And hopefully be able to utilize the new landscape in our benefit as well in terms of the transfer portal and different way to acquire.
And I hate talking about the money stuff, but unfortunately these days it's like all part of the equation. And I know St. Cloud, maybe not in certainly not in the situation Wisconsin's in. You have some kind of budget. I mean, it's almost like you don't want to bring a player in only because of the money, but I mean, these days the reality is you probably need something. So, how is that? How are you wrapping your hands around that at the moment?
Yeah, the support, and I can tell you even through the interview process here, the support, the excitement, I think the understanding of the financial piece of our sport now and recruiting in our sport, I felt really good about that. And I know it's going to allow us to be competitive with the players that we want. And I don't, and you mentioned it, I'll steal your words a little bit, but I don't believe that money should be the number one reason a kid chooses to come to St. Cloud State.
Right.
I think finances are always a factor. But going back to my point about recruiting the right type of people for our program, it's going to matter to them to want to go win a championship with their best friends. It's going to matter to them to be around great people that feel can support and push and help drive their development. Like those are the things for us that matter as a staff. And we're going to recruit people that check those same boxes.
Yeah.
But I do feel good about where we're at and what we're building in terms of our ability to grow our program, sustain success, and continue to recruit players that St. Cloud always has that can come in and make a difference and fit the type of playing style that we want to play.
Well, I appreciate this, and good luck with everything. Hey, that'll do it for this edition of our special off-season series, which we do every year with the new coaches in their new locations. Who will it be next time? You'll have to come back and see. See ya.